Netflix reading series here at MacFadden Coffee Company, Dansville, New York. We are streaming this, so everybody's aware of that in case you're up here at the mic tonight. Okay, streaming. If I do record and put it up, or if I put it up, I will have to contact people for permission, which I will do. I promise. So our featured poet tonight is SeanThomasDougherty. Sean, I could go on. Sean's the author of 18 books. 18?
The next one will be 20.
20? 20 books. Good Lord. What's the next one called?
Death Prefers the Minor Keys from Boa.
Death Prefers the Minor Key from Boa edition is coming out when?
Next year, next fall.
Next year, okay. In the meantime, Sean's latest book is called The Dead Are Everywhere, Telling Us Things. Do you want to describe it? How would you describe it? You're not going to describe it. I'll describe it a little bit.
Mysticism.
I think it's kind of a meditation on a little bit on illness.
Yeah. Yes.
A little bit on dealing with illness, how we sort of address it, overcome it, live with it, and that's kind of a common theme in Sean's work. The theme of sort of struggling with the difficulties of what I would call mostly working class existence. Right, especially in the Rust Belt. You are kind of the poet laureate of the Rust Belt, sort of unofficially. Can I give that to you? Will you take that title? Okay. He is actually the poet laureate of Erie, Pennsylvania. Yes. No? Yeah. So I'll. I mean, should I read anything else? There's so much to say. Yeah, and you work with people who have had traumatic brain injuries.
Yes.
So that that's here. For sure, that is in this volume. So, Sean, I'm not going to say anything else because there's so much I could say. But just check out his work.
That's what Google's for.
Google Sean. He's an incredible poet. And as you'll see, he came up through spoken word, right? So he's a fantastic performer as well. He's unbelievable. SeanThomasDougherty.
Hi, everyone. Great to see you. So this is my book, The Dead Are Everywhere, Telling Us Things. And it's kind of like a meditation on work and labor and my wife's struggle with illness and autoimmune disease. And it's sort of about the work that we do every day to just get by, that people do just to get by. And so I'm going to read about 6 pieces that sort of are very discursive and talk about labor, and talk about illness, and talk about the things that we do, the small things, just to get up every day. And I'm going to talk about food. Food's a theme in here. The first place is called My Wife Never Ate Asparagus. My wife never ate asparagus growing up, or really any vegetable. Her mother, God bless her, worked as a machinist second shift and really had a hard time cooking soup. And her shop steward father believes the only good vegetable is a potato, which if you're going to choose a vegetable, is perhaps not the worst of choices. Though it certainly didn't do much for my people, well, with a famine and all. But my wife had never really seen asparagus, I think. The thin stalks I presented to her once on a plate soaked in garlic butter. And oh, how she slathered down those green, slightly slimy pieces, and before she touched her meat. And so started her love affair with green beans, broccoli. I never ate it cooked, she said, and her favorite, Brussels sprouts, which she likes to cut up like little cabbages and eat sauteed in butter and a fistful of salt. She doesn't like spinach because it is so slimy when cooked. Her parents, even today, will eat little more than a salad. They will eat corn on the cob. Her parents, now both retired from working on the machines that paid their labor, the long hours at the shop before returning home to their children with a simmering temper for decades that has boiled away. There is so much more to say, but this isn't about anything I really know yet. Maybe the start of my wife's illness. some missing vitamins from her decades of poor diet. Or maybe this has nothing to do with vegetables, or even a tomato, which we know is a fruit. But when people like to throw at politicians and the police and bad theater troops, and this is something about the things we never have, or try, or go to, whether a vegetable or meat, or who we can be, and those songs we never sing, the cities we've never traveled because we have to work on 10-hour shifts, making tiny little pieces for other machines or objects we will never even hold. Those long days we spend away from those we love, and when we come home, can barely cook. So we open a box made and assembled in another factory and stir it up. And what are those long drives on Saturdays past the fields, when the corn is high, and the farm stands are full of eggplants and butter and sugar corn and baskets of tomatoes and bushels of collard greens, throwing 5 pounds of fresh bacon, out in the fields where the men and women from somewhere else are bending their backs, and the air is full of Spanish songs, even in some place like Ohio. We drove past that woman walking barefoot with her sons back to the farmer's barracks. It would be easy to say this was sorrow, but they too were singing. They were singing. And then I thought of Victor Hara, not of his death, but his voice. His guitar, he said, was not for the rich, but the murderers could never cut. I heard it once on a scratchy LP. This old man at a bodega in Minneapolis, of all places, was playing as he rung up a plate of empanadas. He is the Spanish Dylan, I said to the man, who said, Salves Pampas y Montanas, and smiled. And I saw he had no teeth. And Victor Hara thought of all the people can do and not do, and gave his life for them. And they cut off Victor Hara's hands for his songs. They cut off his hands. In Minneapolis, years after I walked in the bodega, in the same neighborhood, a white cop leaned on the neck of a black man named George and murdered him in broad daylight. George Floyd was a kind man, his brother said. And what is kindness in the face of handcuffs and guns and the shiny weapons of regimes? This is not a poem about vegetables, but it is what we cook, what we pick, what we choose to try to do. They farm asparagus in Siberia, in South Africa. When we eat the labor of someone's hands. Each stalk is a 12-hour day. A body worked is how we bow our heads to offer blessing before we cut into the butter. My wife kissed me long and deep after she first ate asparagus. We made love on a mattress on the first floor of an apartment owned by Russians. She was not my wife yet. We had no children. This was long before she started to get ill, before her teeth fell out. You need to harvest asparagus every day, and it will grow into a thin, tall fern, a kind of biometric tree that looks like a thin, starving person, like prisoners pressed against the fence of a political camp. You need to cut it first, and it will grow day after day. Eli Wiesel, when asked if there is a way we can go back in our minds before the Holocaust, he said, yes, it is difficult, but we must. And when he was asked, what do you do when you go back to that time, to the before time? He said, we eat. Something about failure. I was going to write something about failure, then I couldn't figure out what it was. Only a feeling, perhaps something brought in through the kitchen window with the sound of rush hour traffic, that long weaving of men and women returning to their homes from working the day shift, lawyers and accountants, diggers and builders, clerks and gas station attendants, insurance people from the giant eerie insurance buildings who do things with numbers and papers and drive home with their clean hands. Something about failure, like not paying your premium with a car crash that happened on 12th Street today. And someone's father that did not know died. He failed to put on a seatbelt. It is that simple. And then you were dead because he failed to remember to buckle. Long after he failed to remember a date or a birthday or to pay his insurance, his life insurance, or the insurance to cover the funeral that his son must now pay, as if grief wasn't enough to worry. His son who failed to notice the signs of his father's confusion, failed to worry, which is right along with failure, and perhaps a bit of fear that we will fail, as we all do. I failed my own son somewhere along the way. He rarely calls. He works a good job doing something with computers I don't fully understand. I thought I was a good father, but when I reflect, as we must when we grow old, I see 1,000 failings, a wrong word said, a failed marriage, the success of his mother, a wrong word said, criticism when we wanted support, a hug instead of a hand. What is one to do? As we must do. I tell my daughter when she starts to scream, when she wants everything to be perfect, her homework, the lines she colors, when she plays some online game and dies, she starts to melt down. But how can we learn if we do not fail, I say to her, knowing too, though, that sometimes we fail, even when we do everything right, even when we work hard, even when we believe. The factory closes, we get sick or laid off, and who is to blame? Sick genes, organs that fail, a heart that stops, and in the end, I guess death is that something I wanted to say. And today through the window I felt it, the first window fall, the leaves turning red, the willows long weeping before winter, like stepping into a river, a place where we finally do not fail, but swim with the rest of them who have lost, carried on the strong current, reaching the far shore, pulling ourselves up to the light, sopping wet. This is from my daughter, Mara. It's called My Daughter Asks, Are You Not Good at Seeing in the Dark? It's part of a long sequence, which is sort of like a whole poem by itself, but also the individual pieces that try to make them stand by themselves too. And this is one of those poems where a lot of poems I get are from just simple things, like I'm walking through the hallway, you'll see this right at the beginning, and then I bump into my daughter and she says something, and then I'll take that small kind of domestic collision and then see where it leads me and see where my mind takes it. My daughter asks, are you not good at seeing in the dark? When I almost step on her, out on the top stairs that lead to the bathroom. As I walk to get ready for my third shift job, I see a sort of shadow at the last minute, and I ask, are you there? My daughter asks, are you not good at seeing in the dark? And I want to tell her, I'm getting old, and I can't see in the dark the way I used to. I'm older than your mother, and I'll probably die before her. And I want to tell my daughter, I used to fear the dark, but then I grew 6 inches and gained 20 pounds, became scarier than anything I'd ever find in the dark. I want to tell her of the years of being drunk and the years I found falling in love with language, and then decades later, her mother. And I want to tell her there is a darkness inside of us. There is a kind of light, and the stars are lives, and it is the blackness we dissolve in. And I want to say so many things, to tell her after I'm gone, we will always be there, even if she cannot see us. But instead, I just close my eyes, and she laughs as I reach out my hands, as if I am blind, as if I am Tiresias, as if I am searching for something like the railing of her arm to hold on to. At the Rib Fest. And this poem began on a sauce-stained napkin at the Erie Rib Fest.
You should tell us about the Erie Rib Fest.
The Erie Rib Fest is a great rib fest. They do it right downtown in Erie, and they line the whole square with different rib places from all over the country. Wow. Your cholesterol goes way up.
Bring your appetite, right?
Bring your appetite, yeah. It really is kind of amazing. They're all pretty good, that's the thing. this is like a true story. This is, sometimes poems, you deviate, but this was just an attempt to really sort of write down this strange collision that we had at the word fest. 1, 2, 3, 4. My wife says, let's find the most wrecked crew, because wrecked people make the best ribs. We passed the clean cut boys with collared shirts and the black crew from Texas with the professional pig roast tees, until we found a crew from Columbus, where the lead guy was handing out sugared bacon and had no teeth, like my wife, who lost them long ago to disease. And so we said, sure, and we ordered a rack from the fat white kid in a straw hat. And my autistic daughter ate a piece of brown sugared bacon the lead crew handed to her. And then when we went to buy more bacon, the man refused to take our money. He was a small white man in jeans and a t-shirt. He had a Southern Ohio accent full of rolling R's, like the kids I grew up with who moved up from Marietta or West Virginia so their fathers could work in the factories of glass and steel along the lake. He was sober, though the cooks looked bourbon bad. We paid for a full rack, and my daughter took the bacon slabs, and we hustled away, amazed at such good fortune. Maybe it was some kind of Appalachian solidarity. Maybe you could smell the poverty in our blood, the long night shifts I worked so we can buy meat, the lines on our faces. Maybe because I'm so cute, my wife said. Maybe he recognized our daughter is disabled. Disabled can get you things. This guy Danny with Down syndrome I used to take care of once told me. In the smokehouse of the sky, distant storm clouds billowed. Black and white people wiped the grease from their jowls. Saw stained napkins blue like omens at our sneakers. A clown handed out animal balloons. A few drops of rain fell. And my daughter started to shriek because she claims she's blind when water gets on her glasses. I put my baseball cap on her head. Her voice sharp and brittle as glass, she will smash against the wall during her worst episodes. In the smokehouse of the world, we wander blind in so many directions. Even the smallest kindness, like a few free pieces of bacon, is suspect. Why did he give the bacon to us? My daughter kept perseverating. Why did he give the bacon to us? She needed an answer. And what could I tell her? Something about hunger, how hard it is these days to tell kindness from guilt or shame. Then look away. What will kill us or save us in the end? This I know she's learned already. We take what meat is given. We swallow down its tough, fatty sweetness fast, as if someone will snatch it from our hands. Two. When I listen, the Thelonious Monk, I think he transforms fear into revere and rearranges it into something more like reverie. Pigeons rising above the L, morning doves in a cathedral's rafters, piano riffs, tender as old people making love. I was listening to Monk when you called me from the hospital, weeping. In the room next door, a woman coded. Do not forget, after someone dies, there is labor. Someone strips the bed. Someone mops the floor. Last one. This is called The Tiny Plummeting Bottles. And so in this poem, in the same way where I try to make poems of the small moments, like seemingly moments where you don't really think, oh, there's going to be a poem, or I became obsessed during the pandemic with our backyard. I guess this might have started earlier, because I wrote a book called The Second Law of Sorrow, where I started to focus in on the small domestic spaces of where we live. But, so I have all these poems about the backyard, which are really about sort of about nothing. Like it's just sort of about being. But so much time is spent there. So much time is like, you know, just cooking or watching the kids play or, you know. So how out of these small moments of domesticity can we find something? Because really, because this is what I started to think about. It's like, when I think about like joy for me isn't doing anything really. It's like watching my kids toss a ball back and forth, or sitting on the back porch with my wife with a cup of coffee. Like those are the most holy moments to me. So how do we make poems out of those moments which are in some ways wordless, which transcend language? You know? And so this is one of those poems where I just sort of talk about us in the backyard. And then it goes on to do other things, because poem never wants to be contained, right? The poem always wants its own agenda. The poem wants to go places. The poem wants to leave the backyard, you know? And I have to reel it back in at times. The tiny plummeting bodies. My daughters gather around the first fire pit of autumn, the flames rising through the iron grate, licking the metal as my daughters nonstop chatter and squeal and bend over roasting marshmallows. And one almost falls into the embers. And my father-in-law bends his old shop steward back to gather firewood. And my wife is wandering a bit anxious in the brush, searching for our escaped ferret with a flashlight. And all is as it should be, here on the suburban block, where 3 men have killed themselves, and the boys across the cul-de-sac were coughed for baking meth. The fumes rising to the rafters, killing the nesting doves in the attic, and dozens of them they found when the house was searched. But that is a block away, and the stars are that near or that far too, and the ghost doves coo. And my daughter now has stolen my lawn chair. Her face is covered with chocolate and crumbs. There is a voice that only hums, but does not speak to all of this. One that lilts through the brown lawns, the dirty above-ground pool full of green water, that praises the finely turning leaves of the oak and tulip trees, the husks of tomato plants, the basil gone to seed, the distant light of my wife's flashlight as she weaves through the bushes calling out. There is no mountain here, and nothing about desire, no orchids for the dead. What more could I ask of the dark than just to be the dark itself, or the silence? That too is a sort of song. It sings to us of wood and the tiny plummeting bodies of dying bees, of the way the cool wind lightning moves my daughter's hair as she dances and shrieks in place, her marshmallow on fire on the end of a stick. The moon rises above her like a spotlight from a detention yard. In the distance, there are sirens. The ambulances strobe towards its way through the rooms of stethoscopes and diagnoses. My daughters now are holding their stomachs in pain, sick from too much sweetness. My father-in-law has fallen asleep in his lawn chair. The fire is nearly out. The dark so dark I cannot see his face. Where my wife bends and shines her light is where I am headed. Where I was headed my whole life is where I have arrived. In this life, we wake to fight, to make, not too far from any hospital or prison cell, despite the odds or evidence of our demise. Perhaps the voice I heard was calling for this confession. The wind smells of rain. I tell my daughters to inhale. Listen to your skin, I tell Breathe in the shape of shadows. Listen to the space between things. And send them up to bed despite their protestations. They're past the years of lullabies. Their mother travels towards me across the yard. She wears a dress of sudden, distant fireworks. She walks as if she's saying grace. Thank you so much.
Sean, 6 is kind of an unlucky number.
Not that we're super.
No, not at all.
Is that true?
And can I point out while you're looking for that 7th poem, that book won the Chicago Poetry Prize this year. Not the first prize you won. Just say that. Just one of few, but that's you could hear why.
So one more?
One.
Let's go with something upbeat. You know, it's the first time I've actually done a reading from this book, and I thought this book was really sad, but it's actually not that sad. You know, these are really sort of poems which have a lot of communion in them, a lot of togetherness. I didn't really realize that. I read so many sad poems, it's nice today, but I didn't quite go over the edge in this one. This is part of the long sequence, and this is a praise piece. I use that word. It's a praise poem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. As much as anything, we must not only praise each other, but praise the smallest things. I failed the dragonfly in the garden not to know to glisten in the light, or was it that I was too much like the dragonfly, darting from place to place, never still, a peripatetic longing for nothing I knew I could become or obtain, until I found myself right where I must have wanted to be. Despite illness and addictions, despite any difficulties, I know I have failed the river and the creek, and failed to run like water steady, failed to praise. The hearts we hold in thimbles, the thread of breath that weaves the tapestry of us as one. Praise the TV sitcom and the aria of the opera, or is it the opera of the subway banter and the woman's stove? These notes of snow in late March. Praise the meat pies at the bodega and the pierogi and the schoolyard. Praise the women wearing, praise the worn boots of every father. Praise the bloodstained smocks of paramedics. Praise the light of sirens turning in the day. Praise the keening mothers at the funerals. Praise the lightnings of batons as they crack our heads. Praise our dead. Praise the barbed wire and the crow. Praise the blue light on the snow. Praise the open caskets and the rude faces. Praise the lapses of memory and the small kindnesses we remembered. Praise the grudges and praise the things we have forgotten. It is all in the eye acute. The lyre plays its praise. We are the last phrases in the book. Worn shoes on the mountain face. Praise the music in our hands. Grilled cheese on a summer day. There are no primroses here. There is no discontent. Let me tell you of the murals on the sidewalk. Let me tell you of the barricades. There is something besides rage that is singing. That is not my wake. I was mistaken with the wake of a hear of what we were. We walk in balaclavas, arm in arm against the barricades. I praise the flames. I praise the ashes we make and mark on foreheads. Every day is Ash Wednesday. Let them come. Let them all come and stand at my coffin, and I will hear them all. Here, take the crook of my arm. Hold tight as the police charge. Or is that you, my woman? Nothing goes unnoticed. I ask you now, is that not what love should be? Is not every love a revolution? The impossibility of a mountain or a train. I turn to your lips to praise. We stomp shoulder to shoulder like horses in the rain, pouring now like sand through our bodies, joined, translucent as an hourglass. Let me tell you what time it is. What time it is. The righteous rain, rain.
Thank you, man. That's wow. It is a great book. It's
So, we all need a break. No? No? Okay. I'm going to follow the beautiful material that Sean just shared with you with something that isn't quite so weighty, but I hope you'll like. So let me chat. So this was a book, sort of a book launch for Sean's book, and I was going to do a book launch for my new book last month, but I got COVID, which is why you see me over there wearing a mask, because I don't want to get COVID again. I lost 2 weeks. I had to sit in a room perfectly fine for most of the time, staring at a wall until I tested negative. I don't want to do that again. It was really boring. So anyway, I didn't get my book launched. So this is technically a book launch, but I thought my book is a book of prose fiction, novel, and vignettes. And I thought, having Sean here, I can't just read a novel. That's ridiculous. The man is a great poet and a great lover of poetry. So I'm going to read a couple of poems. That's okay. And then maybe just a little bit of the book. So this book is called The Zenith Pop. It came out during the pandemic. I had 2 books come out during the pandemic. Fabulous timing. Sean probably did. Did you have at least one?
Yeah, that book was Ghost, like everybody else. Came out.
Disappeared.
Yeah.
Evaporated. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is a poem about Mr. T. Does everybody remember Mr. T?
Bidding Fool.
That's right. Mr. T. So Mr. T has a really interesting history, in case anyone is interested in Googling Mr. T. And he's still around, he's still alive, and he's doing things like voicing cartoons now. He voices cartoons. So yeah. This is what's happened to Mr. T in his old age. B.A. Baracus was his character on the A-Team. If you remember the show, the A-Team. The poem's called B.A. Baracus. Palm Sunday as prelude to Pietà, a lector reads the Gospel of Barabbas while I fold my cross and think, B.A. Barabbas? Flubbing namesake, scholars say, may have been Jesus himself, the son of a father, like Mr. T's, absconded. Mohawk, a kiki antenna to channel 4 centuries whips, B.A. for bad attitude, which he had, and ratings and a movie role to bloody white hope, who spoke Italian Philly, language only half as old as a New World self. Baldness bespoke clean as much as tea, if you were inclined to shine the token, if you bought the hype. For a while he was the hype, as they used to say. Baracus had no pity, no mercy for the fool who in casting set him only halfway free. They called him John Henry, step and fetch it, a thick-necked Tom on his own golden leash, but the country preferred his muscled grunts to blood-witted, hatchet-tongued black men, fated to spray misshapen topiary with history's holy water cannon. Self-baptized Mandinka Igbo guarding 10 clothes designers, 29 celebrities, 12 models, 15 judges, and 40 millionaires. Lawrence T. Theroux charged $3,000 a night if you could get him and his jewelry and his 200 lawsuited tussles in tow. He chewed and spit those numbers through his teeth, threw grins at wrestlers and presidents' wives planted on mats and laps as gifted gas. He chopped the forests of Chicagoland, Paul Bunyan and Ox, shedding chains like qualms about playing a self to death. Then came the flood, absolving him of gold, cartooning him for screens, grieving him in the name of all those who suffered the cruelties of fiction on pedestals. Barabbas, human abacus on the altar, figuring all of us. Now, if anyone ever asks you, did you ever listen to it? Yeah. Did you ever listen to a Mr. T? Yes, I have. There's a lot about Russia in the news lately. Yeah. My barbers, in my hometown, were Russian. A bunch of Russian guys who opened up a barbershop called Goodfellas. And then I went to Brooklyn and got my hair cut once. This was on Long Island. And I went to Brooklyn and got my hair cut. And there was another group of Russian guys who also owned a barbershop called Goodfellas. And I thought, what the hell is going on here? So I try to sort of maybe figure that out in this poem. Journey, and this book is sort of all about pop music, pop culture, so there's a journey reference in there. Journey inside a Russian barbershop. When Yuri parts my hair, he chuckles at some demon in his ear. Boris at the other chair responds in Russian with a frown. He is saying, these Americans are fools to come to us and learn to barb our hair between attacks in Chechnya and threats of execution. Or they speak in their language of the music that blares from speakers behind the screen where the underworld plays in loops. Boris says that Journey's singer intones with the power of the Tsar's budyonis. Yuri remarks that he wails like a waif suffering at Putin's hands. Everything around the shop is just what you'd expect. The jars of mane and tail, aristocrat of clubman talc on shelves above the fade and trim, electric clippers dangling from the hooks by tight arrays of silver shears, the mirror casts as bizarre of ego scopes only these two can wield, as secrets they used to keep each other in line. Yuri says, no, my hair should never be so long. Has it been 6 months? Boris shrugs and juts his lip, the same as when his wife might ask what he'll do about their son, the American, who is ashamed of them and won't wake up on time for school, and lies he doesn't smoke when of course they know his t-shirts reek like workers' bars in Nizhny Novgorod. His is also the lip to know how gray the hair is falling on my lap, and how when I talk about my latest scan, he might well say, you know, we all hang by a thread. And how at another immigrant shop, I watched my father's strands of hair fall to the floor like all small deaths from chairs of foreigners whose tongue he wished he knew. For a time, I believed I'd learned Russian to read the classics because the soul resides in a crone, her smile, and a clerk, his rants. But I'm thankful Yuri's learned the English of this trade. He waves a straight edge, searching for words to conceal my gray, then yells, die! As failure, he knows I don't have the courage to regret, mocks me with the curse of those whose hair grows in the grave. When he asks what color I prefer, I mean to answer brown, but thinking it's too late, tell him, let it be. Boris runs thick fingers through his midnight mop, as though tonics could preserve the flesh the way the tundra does. I want to remind them how the winter chills the weight with wasted chances. Blizzards teach us to spend ourselves, and icicles linger like stubborn hair no one but nature can cut. And the band, born long ago near the Russian River Valley, plays another song insisting we believe that we belong somewhere. Yuri, we are lost, I almost say. But his eyes have found the mirror. We're a stallion in a meadow, brays at the lullabies and strokes of a dead babushka's warming hand. And now I'll read you just a little bit from this book. This is a book about a young man who returns to the suburbs after being away for 15 years and is sort of exiled there by circumstance, moving back to the town where his family lives. Not that anything like this ever happened to me in my life. It's a little bit different. So it's really sort of essayistic fiction, kind of taking on one aspect of suburbia at a time. So this is the chapter on health clubs. Gymnastics. As I walk across the parking lot of our local health club, I regard the entrance, sandstone columns sheltering opaque glass doors. This is a Vegas-style temple to the body. I feel already larger than myself. I enter, confident that I will exit saner in body and mind. I hand the perfectly proportioned, perky desk attendant my membership card. She runs it through an electronic scanner. The computer takes a few seconds to scrutinize the magnetic stripe, during which time Molly, her welcome, my name is blank badge, says, Molly, flashes me the smile of a familiar lover naked and waiting on cool, clean sheets. The computer finally reaches a verdict, acknowledges that I paid my dues and deserve admittance. I'm turning my back on Molly's smile when she leans across the desk and asks, what do I do? Uh-oh, I stammer like the lover's mate who may just this one time have forgotten his personal lubricant. I think I left my license home today. Molly scolds, wagging her finger. What if I let everybody get away with that? Do a lot of people forget their cards? She raises her eyebrow, props her chin on an index finger in mock thought. To tell you the truth, no, not really. You're the first one today. I've barely entered and I'm already in danger of having to leave. Like a premature ejaculator, I haven't fully satisfied her. I clasp my hands together in supplication. I conjure my most sheepish expression. I'm about to bleat like the sad animal itself, or pronounce an orison to the gods of fitness when she says, okay, for today, but make sure you have everything tomorrow. I'll have to kick you out. She smiles with a wink. I salute her and begin the long march to the men's locker room. Walking away, I look back. She catches my eye and without expression yells, enjoy your workout. I have never enjoyed a workout in my life. Anyone who says they have is lying. Basketball, baseball, football, tennis, these games can be fun. Sweating blunts the fun, but the fun still prevails. Sweating as a discrete act is heinous. Sweating combined with pain, a good workout, can only be understood as masochism. Sadomasochism if you have a workout partner. When you work out, you join the cult of the body. It is good for your body to be harder, more appealing. It is good for other people's bodies to be the same. You want your body and their bodies to fit easily together so as not to create pockets or bulges during sex. You see their devotion, their fervor on the crunch machine and dip bar. You too feel the combination of guilt with hormonal and spiritual stirring. You too come to worship at the great mirrored temple. I come to forget the rest of my life. The folks in the gym call this act of forgetting through sweating blowing off steam. As I saunter past the creaky Nautilus machine straddled by throngs of lycra-thong gym bunnies, I feel the steam rising from the fossil pit of my stomach, a primal vigor sublimated by the mundane rigors of suburban life. Fit men on their way out of the locker room barrel past me. Nothing in the gym exists for them now. They've spent the last 2 hours tearing their muscles to pieces, and now they crave healing. They want only to get in their cars and drive to a restaurant with good, low-carb options. Their conscience is clean, their body's efficient. They have a 90-minute window of opportunity for nourishment, and maybe before or after a brief sexual encounter. Men inside the locker room protect their lockers as though they were sacred sepulchres. The blessed shower towel, the holy change of undershorts. They watch my eyes as I pass to make sure I'm not staring. If I stare back for more than 5 seconds, I might be gay. Invading their space if they aren't gay themselves, especially if I don't bother to make a casual remark like, another day at the office. I must then earn the right to approach a locker, flaunt my masculinity. I slap my towel down on the bench with authority, pull my pants off with a swift tug, adjust my underwear to exaggerate the bulk of my bulge. I turn to face the locker shrine. I hold out before me the combination lock, flexing my back muscles for all to see. With steely fingers, I grind the combination into the lock space, like a shaman pulverizing goat horn for potion. I can feel my power as I slip the lock's bar through a hole in the locker latch, then push it closed. Slowly, I turn, scanning the room for reaction. Men continue to dress and undress, their eyes averted from all bodies not their own. I pull on my spandex shorts, adjusting once again the fetish of my manhood. I tug drawstrings in surrogate assertion, flip a workout towel onto my shoulder, and march toward the universal, a man on a mission. I sit down to a set of triceps extensions, and I can feel the eyes upon me. I look around to see who's looking, but catch no one. A few women scissor the air with toned thighs, while a few men grimace and grunt at stacks of weight plates they struggle to keep suspended at the ends of metal cords. Others sit on benches, staring through their reflections in mirrors, gradually disrobing to admire the cut pecs or striation of quads. Some form the sets of their own. The screamers, "Hey!" As with the aid of their spotter attendants, they pump out solid sets of chest press reps. The grunters, as they lower tenths of tons of suspended iron to the floor while trying to keep arms in sockets. And most intense, most lithesome, most loyalsome of all, the unification group, the moaners and groaners. As they stretch their sinewy bodies across all manner of mats, bars, and incline boards. I don't belong yet to any of these groups, but like an inmate in a prison yard, I feel them all watching me to see which way I'll go. I suppress screams, grunts, moans, and groans, and settle for expelling steam and hisses through clenched teeth. I feel everyone in the gym conspiring against me. I am doubled over a lower back extension stool, clutching to my chest a 25-pound ring of iron, my head inches from the floor when 2 black and white sneakers appear and a male voice asks, "You're not using that 10, are you, bud?" Unable to speak, I shake my head, which gesture from where he stands, the man above me can't possibly read as a clear answer, but he bags his quarry and the sneakers disappear. I finish punishing my back, and to the tune of Let It Be, shimmy over to the lat pull machine. My back to it, I brace myself for a set of 12 reps at 150 pounds. Deep breath, roll of the shoulders, stare at the ground. I raise my head and behold across the narrow aisle between machines a flaxen-haired beauty astride the infamous abductor. Top lip curled, she rides the beast that spreads her long legs at an impossibly obtuse angle. She is adducting. No sooner does she pull her legs together than the lecherous machine spreads them apart again. I begin my set of 12, the muscles in my back and shoulders ready to snap. I suppress a scream, and as it turns out, adductor girl is friendly. "How many are you going to do?" she asks, her legs still slicing the air, creating a vacuum that sucks my honest to her crotch. I tell myself she is beautiful inside and out, and then force my gaze to her face. 12, I have grunt. If you're trying to bulk up, it's better to do fewer reps with more weight. More weight, I think, is not an option. And what does she mean, bulk up? I feel sufficiently bulky, clearly a strong male of the species, well endowed by the Creator. After the final rep, I let the full 150 pounds fall from 2 feet in the air, shattering the room's momentary monastery hum. Really, I'm just trying to maintain. Oh, okay. You know what you're doing, but can you do me a favor while you're free? Just pull my legs together to get me started. I oblige, struggling to keep my steely eyes front. I stare off at the snack bar until she finishes grunting. We exchange smiles, and she returns the earphones to her ears. She shouts over her experience of the music. Thanks. Enjoy your workout. I shoot her a histrionic thumbs up, and forsaking a second set, plod to the water cooler. I am disenchanted. She has violated the code governing the interaction of men and women in the sacrosanct halls of fitness. Women are under no circumstances to guide men in the ways of Nautilus and Universal, or God forbid, free weights. Men are meant to lead in this area, not so much for the sake of appearances, but because guidance is the only means of approach available to men. All else is apostasy. Wretched indeed is the woman who, as she tones her thighs, permits a strange man to venture near under the pretext of a simple introduction, and cursed is the man who tries. Instead, when he sees a woman arching her back or twisting her torso in a potentially damaging way, it is his duty, moral and social, to correct her, to help her make her body as perfect as it can be, to perfect the promised fit of hers with his. All signs point to this truth. I'm at the water fountain, trying to contemplate these signs, when a man twice my size steps behind me. He wants water, and he wants to know why I haven't had mine yet. I take an inadequate sip, rise, and avert my eyes to the pool, where people of all shapes and sizes take leisurely laps or recline in the jacuzzi, chatting and hanging on to tiled sides. Men in the jacuzzi speak to women as though seated at a bar. It seems to me an affront to the gods, a surrender in this way to temptation. These same men and women will no doubt fall yet further from grace. Even as abducted girl trespasses on the realm of masculinity, so too will these men, in a moment of unpardonable weakness, cross over to the feminine. They may be asked, or perhaps they'll volunteer, but one way or the other, I know that later, when I'm on the treadmill, the cardio machine sanctioned for men, instead of looking to my left and right and seeing by my side these men, these warriors, fellows in the legion of righteous toil, I will look out across a desert of abandoned stationary bicycles through the glass partition, and I will see them in the distance on the mats, stumbling through aerobic routines designed for nubile women. In my current state of disappointment, I can't bear to watch the descent. I walk briskly, with assurance, to the locker room, certain now that proving orthodox sexual orientation is the least of my problems. In the course of 1 hour, the club has allowed me to fancy myself the most masculine of creatures, then forsaken me. I should have known, for the church is its people, and these people seem to know less about their purpose than I know about mine. I yank my lock open, pull it free of the locker latch, grab my possessions, click the lock closed, and light out for the world. Outside, the sun is setting at the west end of the parking lot. I walk uphill toward the celestial flame, away from the sandstone columns. The red rays outline a strange form on the asphalt. I approach it uncertain. It is a praying mantis in the nominal act. Serene green body resting on its hind legs, its forelegs bent and joined. I sink to my knees. Its eyes are crimson. It sees me, but doesn't move, then rubs its forelegs together, engaged in what it is born to do. I watch it and know that my salvation lies elsewhere. Thank you, everybody. So I do want to thank Sean as well. When I told Sean that I had COVID and had to cancel my launch, he's like, "Huh, do it with me." And I was thinking, no, this is, first of all, he's the man on this night, and second of all, how can I live up to this? There's no way. But thank you for generously wanting to do this together. We've never actually read together. were supposed to a couple of times, and it never actually
We
happened.
read groups for the autism anthology.
That's right. No, I didn't do that.
Yeah, in Rochester.
In person?
In Rochester. We read writers and books, and then
Right.
yeah.
Oh, with your wife.
Mhm.
I'm getting old, as you say. Anyway, thank you, Sean. And we do have an open mic. Is anyone interested in coming up and reading in the open mic? Bill. Jasmine.
Let Bill go first.
The key letter.
Bill tipped me off to his interest in the open mic.
Are you ready?
You gotta find it. You guys want a break first? Anybody want like a 5-minute break or?
You want a 5-minute break?
You guys want-
Take a 5-minute break. Okay,
Yeah.
5-minute break. Bill, you want to rehearse?
That was fun, especially for someone.
You just reminded me of it. I read that from the Bill.
I'm about to go for
That's a fun thing. It's fun to write. There's, help me solve this.
Congratulations on your book. Oh, thank you. Yeah, my first one. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Maybe eventually I'll get to that point. Well, I think it's more important when you do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do. Done pretty good. Yeah. How are you doing? Doing well. Oh, no.
You should ask him.
Yeah, we were magazine this past year. Yeah, I like the magazine a lot. Yeah, I like that. I should have started that, but saw everything else. Yeah. They did a really nice job in Centerville. This one, you saw the Centerville, but Steve was housekeeping, see that it's calls, and I got some working from one of the people.
Not as much as all the guys. Guys. Be able to read each other for like.
You're welcome. They did a really great job. They do a nice job. It's way to press.
Training my ass for what machines are doing.
Nearly necessary. Okay.
Checking my phone, watching the game.
Yeah. And people can send in their book reviews and everything else.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, this is the last issue. At the end of this year. We were gonna kind of work in the cooperative, but it's hard to direct when I talk to people that does not profits and things like that. It's really hard. It's really hard to pull enough people in. Although I just can't see how many people.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. Yeah, most of this is on the wrong. Very little of it. That's nice. No, I don't think it's like, yeah. Of course.
No, I was trying to talk her into it, but she says she's out of it.
She's just supposed to do it.
I didn't bring anything.
When's the last time you gave a reading? Has it been a while?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it long enough? I don't remember. It was before the pandemic.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
This might be one of my first, no, I got a couple of since the pandemic, I've given very few. I read a Lock Haven, Gannon, and Mercer Racing Town. Lock Haven was online.
I've actually attended more poetry readings during the pandemic time than I had before, because living where we live, I mean, sometimes we'd have writers come to college, and, you know, but now there's all kinds of stuff online. There's a group of
So what do you think the newspaper?
Ukrainian poets read. Someplace in Boston. And, you know, ordinarily, it would have just been for the people who were there. And it was a lot, you know, it was a reading as an audience. But some of the people were actually actually from Ukraine.
I saw a reading like that from the Hudson Valley Writers, which I was so happy about. And they've been doing that a lot. I love that place. And I used to see these readings for years ago. I wish I had lived longer. Yeah, I was telling George that I've seen more readings in the last 2 years than I saw in the last 20 years. Just, I mean, every night you can go.
Yeah. I have a friend who's poet, who she's now the poet laureate of Arkansas. And since she moved to Arkansas, I mean, we just exchanged emails. I've gotten to see her really.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So I used to drive out to Writers and Books in Rochester a couple times a year. It was like my treat. A good day off work, and I'd go see if somebody really good was playing. Just reading there. This last year, they put them all on Zoom. So I didn't have to, I saw every reading. Some books, this great series, and Boa sponsored it, and then you got Eric and Mike that was there, who teaches at Virginia. And I've known Erica for a long time, but I never got to see her. She's down in Virginia. And so it was all on Zoom. I get to see her reading. It's amazing. Right? And I never get in the car and drive 3 hours. It's the best thing. I'm a huge fan of it. I think it's one of the best. It came out in such a backwards way, a necessity. This technology was invented, and then when it first started, I felt really uncomfortable. You know, I don't like to sit by the computer that much. I was getting used to it.
As you said, especially for people with, well, for disabilities.
And then the stuff around the world. Because we go to Dublin every couple of years. My grandmother's from Dublin. And we always go to the Abbey. So during the pandemic, the Abbey started, you pay as a kind of fundraiser. You pay, and then they broadcast the plays. So I've been seeing all these plays at the Abbey. They're still doing it. And they said it's been a boom. Because then, like, people like me, people all over the world are giving them income. That it's been like an inspiration thing. Yeah, you can buy a ticket and then see the broadcast. That's really helping them out.
I've done that. Usually they're not. One thing, you had to buy.
There's no people sitting anymore.
It's really good, yeah.
Haley stepped up the game on the.
Oh, you got know that.
It's like loaded with nuts, walnuts, sugar.
Oh, this is Bill was about to read. This is my friend who reads the Heights.
Oh, torture.
Dude, that's one deal.
We ate.
We got out of Dodge pretty quick. We were outside on the porch. Yeah. But Bill is going to. So I'm going to introduce you. Right? All right, everybody. So we're gonna pull you back into the open mic, however many people are willing to jump in here. And the first reader in the open mic is someone who is known around Dansville. Can I say you're known around Dansville? You're a Dansville native. You're a Dansville native, and he and his wife Sony, whose art you see all over the walls here, who's having a show on October 7th here. They work together at the Trail Otter. So I like the Trail Otter. It's sort of like the COVID. It's got the COVID. The Trail Otter, which is how would you describe Trail Otter?
It's a hiking and backpacking outfit.
Oh,
Okay. In Leicester.
In Leicester.
Leicester or Leicester?
Nobody knows where.
It's Western New York. So I can never. Sorry.
It's at the northern end of Letchworth.
Okay. There we go. And Bill's going to do a poem, and I know this because he tipped me off. Bill Waterhouse.
yeah.
All right, so I'm probably gonna have to do a little background for people that aren't from Dansville. Over the summer, Livingston County Economic Development brought in 9 different artists in the area to paint murals in each of the villages. So in Dansville, there's one. You come out the door, you hang a right, and you go just past the stoplight. You'll see this gigantic, beautiful. What type of horse would you call it? Abstract? It's a Mustang. Abstract Mustang on the wall. And so I'm fortunate enough to be in a relationship with a person that does murals. My daughter also does murals. So I know a little bit more than the average bear, not as much as the professionals that came in, but a little bit more than the average bear. And we started hearing very positive things about what was going on when the paint hit the wall here in Dansville. But then we also heard that there was a lot of people on Facebook that weren't so happy about what was coming into Dansville and going up on the wall. So after this was all done, I'm not sure where the anger really came from, or the angst for me to actually write this poem. But that's kind of the background of where it comes from. The title came from a conversation that I had with my daughter when I said, it was amazing. Everybody was for what happened here. And then all of a sudden, the artists showed up and they started their work. And everybody, not everybody, but people that were against it really came out on Facebook. So she looked at me and she goes, Dad, nobody cares until the paint hits the wall. So that's the name of the poem. Nobody cares until the paint hits the wall. Feedback came fast and furious from the art critics and posers who think that they have an expertise in getting things done, but can only see the literal from their 50-mile view. First thoughts were they wouldn't like the Mona Lisa if someone gave it to them, like the way this mural was given to them, free of charge, yet disappointed, appalled. There's a lot of art that I don't care for. My response is, I just don't get it. Maybe that's too reserved for the Facebook masses, the kingpin wannabes who shout, I wasn't involved. Who made this decision? I hate it. What were they thinking? My favorite, it isn't what I would have done. Facebook opinions versus face-to-face conversations, like they could think the way tourists think. They've missed the point yet again. It isn't a mural just for them. It's a mural for everyone. In Leicester, there are wonderful couples admiring the simplest Livco mural of the 9 villages. Ask, where are you from? And every couple replies, Rochester. We've come down to see them all. I smile knowing success has been achieved, as these mural tourists will appreciate the incredible skill, enjoy homemade Dansville granola, Angie's ice cream, and Jack Place wings, unaware of forgetful village histories after they leave. The world is shifting from materialistic to experiential, from collecting things to collecting experiences. If they could tour the castle on the hill or meet Clara Barton, Bernard MacFadden, maybe it'd be worthy of an advertisement like Europe. Those who want the past already eaten by death want to resurrect it for themselves and their tiny clan. But unlike the past, the futurists, those who want art, desire beauty, and want to share it with everyone who can relate. If I were to choose the next mural, I'll take a field of sunflowers, because winter is coming and a field of flowers would lift my cold winter spirit. Nobody would care if I chose sunflowers. Nobody would care about the thought process, planning, permits, public inquiry and feedback conversations, approvals, wall preparation, lift rentals and ladders, travel time, and multitude of details. But let one drop of paint hit the wall, and Facebook nobodies raise their finger-tapping knives. I wouldn't have the time to detail the process via a keypad, but would love to talk Facebook lists to face to any of them who've traveled to Rochester, even once, just to view a mural instead of the cheesecake factory. Thank you.
It feels good to get out, doesn't it?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, what do you say to people? A lot of my students are like, I write poetry as therapy. A lot of people say that. How do you feel about that one?
That's a lot cheaper, but I don't think it's as
I'm going to use that one. It's a lot cheaper, but not as effective. Like, I usually say, well, it can be. Or make things worse. Our next open mic reader is a local author who I think everybody here probably knows, and even Sean knows because he met her today. Jasmine Willis. Jasmine has a book just out that whose launch we were happy to host here last month, and I think she's going to read a little more from that book. Yeah?
Yeah, I got
Called
it.
The Waiting Room. Jasmine Willis, everybody.
Hello, everyone. This is my first book. It's called The Waiting Room, and like Sean was talking about, his book touching on mental health. This book touches on mental health as well, which I think is so important for today's world that we're in. There's a lot of people that are struggling. So this is an allegorical take on mental health, and it's sort of like a spiritual journey, a quest to go on. Just want to give something for people to relate to in this world. Sort of give them a voice. Is everybody able to hear me? I'm sorry, I'm like really short. Love is a powerful weapon. It will not be diminished by time or reason. The walls built up to keep everything in or out has no threshold against it. It is the most terrifying and emotional journey we will ever take. Yet, as human beings, we all need to feel loved. We need to have some form of love in our lives. We need human connection, touch, embrace, and to be held by one another. If you try to strip away love, all you have left is madness. You have a world trying to rip itself apart from the inside, and everyone is looking for someone else to blame. Love is something that divides us from the demons. It keeps us from falling into the darkness when the dark is pulling tighter and tighter. It is threatening to squeeze the life out of you. It wants what it no longer has. It wants the light that you have left glowing inside of every inch of your body. The light coming from the love that flows inside of you. The love that has been lost or forgotten by the darkness. There was a time when we all knew the light. We all had a chance to be saved from the darkness, and we all used the power of love to be redeemed. Love was the key to unlock any evil that would go up against us. We just needed to believe in it and trust it, and that it will see us through in the hard times. Somewhere along the way, we forgot. We lost our way. We got caught up in trying to stay alive. We were so consumed by fear and pain that we forgot how to love. We forgot how to trust. We forgot how to let go. We forgot how to open our eyes to the truth. We lost our most powerful weapon to the darkness that consumed us. We had a chance to go back. We could try to make things right one more time. We could fix what we broke on the path to find the light. If you had one chance to go back and save the one you loved most, wouldn't you do it? Wouldn't you do it no matter how much it costs
and how crazy or hopeless it seemed. If you could have one chance to make it right, wouldn't you do whatever it takes? Thank you. You want to read a little more? Or?
Want to do a little bit more? Sure.
Okay. Can't give too much of it away, or I give the whole book away. Okay. We will do anything. We will do anything to avoid feeling pain. It is the basic human instinct to avoid pain at all costs. We will put up walls, take handfuls of pills, request to go under powerful anesthesia, and even avoid being around other humans altogether. If pain happens to sneak through all of our clever barriers to reach us, we will do whatever it takes to snuff it out. When I got locked in eternal purgatory for all my sins, I figured it was punishment for all the times I escaped the system, all the times I was clever enough to avoid spiritual surgery. I thought after the first few battles that my body would be at rest, but I continued to feel pain. I continue to feel pain. The world is like being locked in a box of someone else's darkest secrets. You could fight and claw your way out, and even know how to reach the door to the other side. You know how many times I tried going through that door to the other side? It wasn't until the girl showed up that I finally was able to piece it all together. This is not my hell. This is not my punishment for escaping the spiritual emergency room. This is something I stumbled upon when I was looking for the scrolls. I was trying to break down the walls, and I was trying to let out all the pain. I was trying to set us all free. Thank you. If I read anymore, I'll get the whole thing away.
That's right.
Writers should not give it away for free. It's not all the time.
Not all the time.
Most of the time. Anyone else want to come? Anyone? Yeah, Darlene. I should say this is Darlene Bentley, who has been the publisher of the Owlite News for 5 years, regional newspaper and literary journal as well. And you just put out your last print issue, right?
Yeah.
Never say never, but
Just picked it up today.
congratulations on 5 years.
Yeah, no, it's a good accomplishment. It's a great accomplishment. The number of incredible people that have come together and shared voices is fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Darlene Bentley, everybody.
I found this scrap of paper when I was rearranging my office to try and make room for the plants that I spent 2 hours moving from the deck inside before I came here to rescue them from the approaching cold. Yeah. What's that?
Thanks for the reminder. I need to do that.
Yeah, my husband's not happy. Where are we putting this one? I didn't have an answer.
So you found this then when you were moving?
Yeah, I have a lot of scraps of paper laying around that I've written things
And
on.
then you forget it. That's
I forget,
awesome.
and
That's
then
like
I find
finding
it.
what a gift.
Yeah,
It's like a gift to yourself that you gave.
it is. Although a greater gift would have been happen in order to reread it before while I was creating points. We'll see. Faded by sun and time, the photo shows a child, perhaps 6, perhaps 7, standing small beside a thin tower of a man. The man is wearing pants and a shirt that his body is shrinking away from. The pants are cinched in place, bunched within a leather belt, its edges, like the photo, worn away by exposure to the elements. The turned up corners of his mouth add a lightness that illuminates the present and dispels the reality of a timeline nearly completed. The skin on his face sags under the weight of those years. There are lines and folds evident, like the craggy sides of a deep gully that water and wind and landslides have molded, molecule by molecule. Will it look different tomorrow, the child wonders, or the day after? Beside him, the child's Hair spills from the side of a scarf, folded into a triangle that covers the colic above her forehead and nests above her ears. It is secured at the back of her head with a knot. She loves tying knots, although she is never quite sure if she has managed a granny knot or a square knot, or what the difference is between the two distinct ties. There is a disheveled look about her that somehow connects her to the man, as if she was born of his memories. There are more evident connections, the high-set cheekbones and the nose. There is the common surname, English, but how is she to know this now, as a child? Behind them stands a house surrounded by giant, randomly dropped rocks. The house, like the rocks, seems to have always been there, like the photo and the man's belt. Its edges are worn. Nonetheless, it stands straight and proud as the descending sun casts long shadows extending to the outhouse and into the impenetrable vegetation beyond it. Inside the house, peering from the upstairs window, is a woman. Watch out for the rattlers that live amongst the rocks, the woman had told her. The child watches, hoping to meet one someday. The woman's hands are deeply etched with the fine lines of time. She is a maker. She makes beaded moccasins and dream catchers. She makes necklaces from bits of rocks and metal. In every room of the house, there are large oval rugs. She has made these too, from tubes of fabric, discarded suit coats like the one the man wears, suit coats worn with ties like the kind people wear when someone dies. At least that is what she thought when she saw them. The woman, Rose. The man is Ray. The woman is also a maker of baskets. She makes them from bunches of grass sewn together like the rugs. She makes them from the weeping willow branches that shiver in the fall wind. She makes them from pieces of wood that she has beaten out of logs into long strips. Some baskets are stacked in the corners of an upstairs room. On the ceiling of the room are baskets filled with magic. At least that is what the child has been told. There are plants uprooted from the fields and woods. They hang from lines strung across the ceiling of Rose's room, wrapped together in tight bundles with their kin. The air is filled with secrets and wonder. Next to the room is where the child sleeps when she is here. At night, when she goes to bed, she climbs the stairs and walks past the room. The stairs moan with each step. The wood in the middle of each step, polished by footsteps, reflects the dim light. In the room where the child sleeps, all that hangs from the ceiling is a bare bulb. It is suspended by a cord. The cord, unlike the one at home that crosses the floor from the wall to the fan in her room, is made of woven fabric and looks like the pieces that go into the rugs. At night, when she lays there in her bed, after the trip to the outhouse, after her sister falls asleep, the child breathes in the smells from the dried plants and dreams about Rose and the tall man, her grandfather. She asks her parents questions about Rose and Ray. There are never answers. She asks if they will come here again next summer. There is only silence. One visit, maybe the year when the photograph was taken. They ride in the back of the truck on a car seat, their father wedged beneath the rear window. Sometimes they turn and look through the glass at their parents. Most of the time, they look behind them from the direction they have just traveled. They sit close together beneath a blanket and shiver in the night air. Overhead, there are stars, and they are falling.
Darlene, do you remember reading that and finding it reminded you? Did you remember the circumstances under which you wrote it?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yeah, yeah,
Ah, okay.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. So So this would be the means of like, remember, every time this has something happens to you, you write about it, you should just throw the paper in this book.
Well, this is the only way I retrieve my memories, the way my brain works. I have to find some scratch and pull it out. Well, thanks for the chance to read.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Is anybody else? Okay, anybody on the sidewalk, or anybody out there want to read? Hi. We used to do, at club, we used to do these spoken word events. And we needed judges. You always need judges for a slam, for example, poetry slam. So we would literally walk out onto the Bowery in New York City and yell at people to come in and judge. And they would do it. It was amazing. People were walking off the street, and because there's no expert, in fact, you can't have expertise to be a slam judge, right? It's actually a detriment. So, yeah, you get like a semi-homeless guy with like 9. Anyway, thank you all for coming, and I just want to thank you, Sean, first of all, for making the trip out from Erie. I hope you will all check out Sean's poetry, which is really incredible. And not only his poetry, his writing about poetry is great too. Next week, Sonny Olberg will be having a show here of the work you see on the wall. Will there be more, or is this?
I'll have smaller paintings.
So it's next Friday, Thursday?
Friday night, 6 to 8.
Friday night, 6 to 8. And of course, there will be coffee and dessert and maybe an alcoholic beverage or two.
And then November, I'll have Andy Gare.
And when is Andy's show?
We will put that up. I'm hoping the first Friday, maybe? The first Friday.
That's the kind of artist who like whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Right. So common among artists to be so agreeable.
You got nothing else.
Yes. Great. Awesome. And then November, I think the second week in November, we'll have Jerry LaFemina here reading from his book called The Pursuit of Happiness, which is a bunch of essays about happiness. And at the same time, we will beam in a happiness scholar, a happiness studies scholar. I swear this exists. It really does. From California, who's a colleague of mine. She will beam in, I hope, and we'll have a discussion about happiness. And maybe we'll have some smiley faces. So, can we make smiley face cookies?
Oh,
All right.
That's like, to me, that makes sense, because like grief and joy seem just organic human constructs.
Right.
But happiness seems socially constructed.
Happiness, right. You need recognition for happiness. Right. So we'll try to make some happiness.
Wow.
Anyway, so that's it. And then in January, I think it's January 18th, I think, we're having a mystery writer, Lori Foster Duffy. Who's the mystery?
yeah.
That's not a mystery. I've given it away. Damn it. She writes mysteries. She writes mysteries. So she will come and not only read from her book, her latest book, will probably talk about mystery writing. And then we're open to suggestions after that. All right, everyone, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I gotta go see who